And it's a win for Team Trump. A federal judge grants a special master to review documents seized from the former president's home. Good morning from NewsNation World Headquarters in Chicago. I'm Nick Smith in for Mitch Carr. This is Early Morning. We begin with the latest in the ongoing investigation into the top secret information seized from Donald Trump's Mar-a-Lago estate. Monday, federal judge Aileen Cannon delivered a legal victory to Trump's legal team, granting their request for a special master to be appointed in the case. Her decision comes days after the Department of Justice argued that an outside expert was not necessary since they had already completed a review of the documents. Our Tom Dempsey has the latest from Washington. Tom, good morning.
Good morning, Nick. Yeah, this morning, the legal teams for former President Donald Trump and the Department of Justice are working on lists of people who could possibly serve as special master for this case right now. The judge gave them a deadline of Friday to submit their lists. But, Nick, make no mistake that this is really going to slow down the investigation by the Department of Justice. On Labor Day, former President Donald Trump posted a series of messages to his social media platform, Truth Social, about, this case and the raid at Mar-a-Lago, accusing the Department of Justice and FBI of being pushed by sinister and evil outside forces, before going on to say, quote, now that the FBI and Department of Justice have been caught in a massive and determinative election rigging scam, are they going to change the results of the 2020 presidential election? They should. The Department of Justice also responded to a request for comment from NewsNation saying, quote, the U.S. is examining the opinion and will consider the appropriate next steps in the ongoing litigation. But again, Nick, with this ruling, the Department of Justice will be blocked from further reviewing the documents seized at Mar-a-Lago. The former president's legal team claimed that some of the documents should be protected under attorney-client privilege or executive privilege. The Department of Justice, meantime, argued that Trump lacked the authority to keep the documents and said it completed its review, so a special master was not needed in this case. But again, this judge ruled that a special master will be implemented to go over all the documents. They'll be tasked with going through and reviewing all the documents that were seized at Mar-a-Lago. This will be an independent person, likely an outside attorney or former judge who is ultimately named to the position. But, Nick, also something to add that the judge ruled that the damage assessment by the intelligence community will continue of the documents that were seized at Mar-a-Lago, analyzing if national security would ever be put at risk if those documents were compromised.
Yeah, but Tom, what did the judge say about the documents and those items actually being returned to the former president?
Yeah, the former president and his legal team really do want to see some of those items and documents returned to them. The judge made no ruling on that, so still unknown if the documents and items will be returned to the former president. But again, one of the many things the former president was posting about over the weekend, he was saying that his 16-year-old son, Barron, and his the First Lady, Melania Trump, he said their rooms were apparently searched by FBI agents as well. So again, one thing that's still to be determined is if the documents and items that were seized by the FBI agents will be returned, Nick.
Tom, thanks so much. Tom Dempsey from our nation's capital. To dig a bit deeper into Monday's decision, let's bring in Dave Aronberg, state attorney for Palm Beach County, Florida. Dave, good morning. Dave, the question I have for you when we jump into this, everyone's mind right now is what happens next? Will this delay or interfere with the Department of Justice's investigation?
Good morning, Nick. Yes, it will delay it. I don't think it's going to substantively change the investigation much because this is a delay tactic. And in the end, this special master is not going to thwart the investigation. But the decision is problematic because the decision is based on, in my opinion, some faulty reasoning. I mean, it gives the special master a chance to exclude documents based on executive privilege when there are no documents subject to executive privilege because only a current president can invoke executive privilege, not a former one. Plus, the courts have said previously that executive privilege can't be used by the executive branch to block the executive branch from looking at materials. And also, executive privilege is something for the benefit of the country, not individuals. So if this involves possible espionage, how can you invoke that? And then one other thing, Nick, is that this judge went farther than Trump's request. This judge put a halt to the investigation, granted an injunction, even though Trump's legal team didn't even ask for an injunction. So Trump got everything he wanted, seems like, and more from this Trump-appointed judge.
So can you then see the DOJ filing an appeal in the coming days?
It's a good question. You know, I think they should appeal the injunction, because that, to me, is something that could damage all criminal prosecutions. As a prosecutor, you don't want criminal defendants to be running to the courts every time they think they are a suspect. I mean, that could put a halt to all these other criminal investigations, or we're just going to give special treatment to Donald Trump. And that's what it looks like. I mean, this judge here is a judge known for being pro-prosecution. She's a former federal prosecutor herself, but now she has somehow discovered her inner civil libertarian in this ruling when the plaintiff is Donald Trump. Now, the other reason why I don't know if the Department of Justice is going to appeal this is that if they do appeal it, it goes to the conservative 11th Circuit Court of Appeal, where Donald Trump has appointed many of the judges. And so that's why they may just call it a day and move on from here.
Dave, lawyers now have until Friday to submit a list of special master candidates. If you're counsel for Donald Trump, what kind of candidate is best suited for that role? Who are you looking for?
Rudy Giuliani, the My Pillow guy, maybe Devin Nunes. Nick, the MAGA world is not going to be satisfied unless they have one of their own as a special master. I mean, that's something that Judge Cannon, I think, got wrong. Judge Cannon said, hey, we need this to ensure the perception of fairness. Well, if you're one of Donald Trump's hardcore supporters, you're going to look at any procedure that investigates their boss, their leader, as corrupt. And it doesn't matter who's going to be appointed unless it's a MAGA leader like a Rudy Giuliani, who's not going to be appointed. So this whole thing about appeasing Donald Trump's core supporters is misguided, and it's not going to help matters.
Dave, I know you're short on time, but how do you expect this to end?
I expect ultimately that charges will be filed by the Department of Justice after the election. Now, whether it files against Donald Trump, we'll see. I think it's more likely than not. But as far as the special master, I think it's going to delay matters. It's going to push the timetable back a little bit. But substantively, it is not going to change the ultimate decision of prosecutors whether to charge in this case.
Dave, it seems like, too, when all of this goes back and forth, it confuses people and frustrates those who are watching all of this.
Yeah, I understand that. It's confusing because, look, you had a federal magistrate judge, Judge Reinhardt, here in West Palm Beach, make a lot of decisions. And then the Trump team went 68 miles to the north, 2 counties away, to find a judge appointed by Donald Trump, who then gave Donald Trump pretty much what he asked for, rewarded their faith in her. And people are wondering what's going on. And, you know, Chief Justice Roberts has criticized the perception of the judiciary as political, saying that there is no Democratic judges, no Republican judges, just federal judges who follow the law. It's getting harder and harder to defend the federal judiciary when you have rulings like this.
Dave Aronberg, State Attorney for Palm Beach County, Florida. Thanks again for coming on Early Morning, and I appreciate the laughs.
Hey, thanks for having me, Nick.
Thanks for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find NewsNation in your cable lineup. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-based, unbiased coverage.